So I wanted to go into your situation. We're gonna have to print this up later. But you want to just share what happened to you?
Make a long story short. So my birthday, it's about 2 weeks ago on April 3rd. My birthday, you know, driving home. I know the law fairly well. You know, the cops, police, they like to abuse and take advantage. Because if you're ignorant of the law, they'll take advantage of you. So anyways, driving home, they pull us over. I'm in the back seat. My cousin's driving, the young lady's in the front. They ask, license registration, my cousin gives it to him. He's asking a bunch of questions. By law, when you get pulled over, according to the Fifth Amendment, you have to say, not a damn thing. Right? He's asking my cousin, where you coming from, what you eat, all types of questions. So I stopped him, hey, why you pull us over for?
Doctor?
He says the license plate, the little light above the license plate was out. So they look for...
He's supposed to write a citation.
Right, the receipt, he didn't do that. So then when I asked him that, he got mad. He said, let me see your ID. By their law, I'm not required to show him anything. But I did it anyway, so he could see it was my birthday. And I was a block away. I said, you know what? I said, my license. I looked at it for a good 5 seconds. I said, you know what? I'll get my wallet. My hands is up. Here's my wallet. I'm getting the license. You know what I mean? I give it to him. He looks at it. Where you coming from? He asked my cousin the same thing a minute ago. I didn't answer him. Fifth Amendment. I looked at him. I kept texting him. He said, I'm talking to him. I said, I know. He said, where you coming from? I didn't answer him. He goes back to my cousin, because now my cousin's nervous, he's stuttering. That's what they do. When you're nervous, they'll say, they'll look at, are you drinking or you smoking? The pupils is dilating, step out the car. Now they give a probable cause to search the car. But so, to save my cousin, I kept interrupting. So then he goes, you've been arrested, this guy been in jail before, you've been arrested before, huh? Now he's being disrespectful now. Now I looked at him, but I didn't answer him. I'm like, he asked me again, you been in jail before? I'm like, listen bro, I'm trying to go to sleep. Now they come to I'm in the back, mind you. They come to the back, they open the door. When he did that, I'm like, well, in my head, I'm like, okay, this is about to get ugly. Now in Rhode Island, they have to wear body cams now. Body cams, that's the first time the light wasn't on, it was off. So I'm sitting there, and he's like, yo, you come out by force, come out by will. I said, what's your PC? PC means probable cause. What's your PC for searching and seizing me and taking me out the car? You have no probable cause. He said, either come out by force or come out by will. Before I could finish talking, they just yanked me out the car. They just started punching me, pepper spray.
Somebody was in the back you could have passed the phone to and have them.
Nah, it happened so fast, man. It happened.
That's the first thing I would just have somebody
recording. You know, but I know, but I have witnesses though. But shout out to Jamal, but my cousin went to record. The cops came and said, "Put your phone away." My cousin don't know the law. He don't know. He put his phone away. But anyways, he took me to the sidewalk. They at least punched me at least 20, 30 times. Pepper sprayed me 3 times. When I was cuffed, they were still punching me, my dude. Still punching me like, you can hear him like getting the hits off. I can't see now. I pepper sprayed twice. I'm like, yo, come on, man. Homeboy comes to pepper sprays me. That's what I thought I was gonna die at this point again. You know what I'm saying? Oh, mind you, when he pulled me out the car, one's choking me, he grabbed my arms. One of the cops is going for like his gun area, like frantic, because I don't think they knew how big I was, and they got out. They're oh snap. I'm like, yo, chill, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And like he came to his senses, and then he go for the mace, and then he sprayed me. So it seemed he was going for his gun or his taser, whatever. You know what I mean? That's when I was like, yo, chill, what are you doing? Right there, I thought I was shot.
Off these dudes.
Oh no, listen.
Woo.
I'm coming for them, bro.
I'm dying for some shit like that to happen.
I'm coming down, but it's
bro.
Listen. It's one thing when you hear it, you always hear these stories, and then when you're in it, because when I was cuffed and they kept punching and pepper sprayed me again, I thought I was gonna die. Like I was like, yo, I'm gonna die, because it kept literally holding my feet, cuffed. It was that. That feeling of, you know what I mean, being abused, you have no power, you can't do anything. They hold my feet, punching me in my head, and pepper spraying me again. That's when I was like, yo, just don't talk. I thought I was gonna die. You know what I'm saying? They threw me in the car, they're laughing. It's a good birthday present. There's like 10 cops outside my window, a couple female cops, male cops. They're laughing like, they know it's my birthday, it's still my birthday. They're laughing, man. You know what I mean? I asked to go to the hospital, it took them almost 3 hours to bring me to the hospital. Because I knew, I said, let me get some documentation. I said, yo, I need to go to the hospital. They threw me in the cell. I'm banging. The phone doesn't work, or the emergency button. I said, what if I was really dying in there? When someone was really dying, pressing the emergency button, it wasn't working.
Are you suing them?
Listen,
Let them finish and then we're gonna go.
I'm not playing no games with these guys, man. I'm not.
That's good.
So when that happened, I went to the hospital. Everything happened. I put a post on Facebook. I know Facebook's one of the biggest platforms. I think you see my post, right? You guys seen it? I didn't go into detail, but I spoke about it a little bit. And the amount of people who hit me up, people was inboxing me, people was a lot of my friends went through the same thing, but they don't know the law, they didn't know who to run to. Public defenders don't have the money. The cops know this stuff. You don't got the money, you don't know the law, beat you up. They're gonna charge you with 4 different counts: disorderly conduct, resistant arrest, legal or illegal arrest, obstruction of execution, and striking officials. Minor
Yeah,
injury.
we're gonna go into all of that. So this is a situation that happens frequently, and our people don't know what to do. And we go to their attorneys, and they just tell us to take deals, those BS, right? So this was our response that we're working on, and we're trying to get a lot of people to sign this as a witness, because our people talk about, we want to end this brutality and all this kind of stuff. So if you want to end it, we need to come together and stand up with him. And when you read the chapter on unity of life, every living thing is bound together to every other living thing. So when they attack one of our people, they're attacking all of us. So it would behoove us to show up to court with him and be by his side. Like all those people that said they're going to show up, after you hear what we're about to say to them, show up. Because that's the only way that they're going to be held accountable. If you do this to one of us again, this is the consequences. So I'm going to go into it, right? So this is...
taking civil too, so I want everybody.
Assuming counsel where I am up there, man.
Hold on, let me go into this because we have to get So this is in relation to what he said. This is the case number 18-4043 and case number 2018-000-33306, State of Rhode Island versus Twos. So you can look it up.
Mind you, my name is all capitalized.
Yes, yeah. That's
right?
the straw. That's the straw. That's
Yep,
the 14th Amendment, because they're not talking about you.
Yeah.
Because remember, 14th Amendment is a resident, a thing identified, right? For the record, on the record, and let the record show that in response to an instrument accepted for value titled Providence Indictment Report Summary, I am hereby refuting all the alleged offenses contained therein. Number 1, obstructing officer in execution of duty. I hereby demand that the alleged officer prove in fact that he is an elected official. According to the law, an officer is distinguished from an employee. An officer is required to have an oath, a bond, and more enduring tenure, and facts of his duties being prescribed by law. If there is an officer involved, please produce their oath to the American Constitution and bond number. Number 2, resisting legal or illegal arrest. According to the common law rule, an illegal arrest is an assault and battery. The person so attempted to be restrained of his liberty has the same right to use force in defending himself as he would in repelling any other assault and battery, State versus Robinson. Each person has the right to resist an unlawful arrest. In such a case, the person attempting the arrest stands in the position of a wrongdoer and may be resisted by the use of force, as in self-defense, State versus Mobley. It is a common law right to engage in commerce. The word legal denotes agreement, consent, and the will to do something. That's why I say you're either going to come out by will or by force.
By force.
Per Article 1, Section 10 of the American Constitution, Article 20 of the Declaration on Human Rights, and the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, 1787, Article 17, the people have the right to association and may not be forced to compel nor contract nor associate. Every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. He is not bound by any institutions formed by his fellow men without consent. When the Providence Police fail to provide proof that they are a constitutional office, then it is prima facie evidence to their private for-profit status, and their laws do not apply to the people unless the people agree. There is no evidence whereby I, Eastside Tusa Bay, agreed to be subject to the laws and or statutes of the corporate state of Rhode Island and Providence plantations. Thus, the Providence Police do not have jurisdiction. Once challenged, jurisdiction cannot be assumed. It must be proven to exist. Shuckle versus medical examiners. The law requires proof of jurisdiction to appear on the record of the administration agency and all administrative proceedings. Higgins versus Levine. If any tribunal finds absence of proof of jurisdiction over person and subject matter, the case must be dismissed. Number 3, disorderly conduct. According to the Act of State doctrine, every sovereign state is bound to respect the independency of every other sovereign state, and the courts will not sit in judgment of another government's acts done within its own territories, i.e. Europeans cannot tell Americans what to do in America. It has been declared that the federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act, March 9, 1933, 48 Statute 1, Public Law 89, Tact 719, declared by President Roosevelt being bankrupt and insolvent. House Joint Resolution 192, 73rd Congress in session June 5, 1933, joint resolution to suspend the gold standard and abrogate the gold clause, dissolve the sovereignty of the United States and the official capacities of all United States governmental offices, officers, and departments, and is further evidence that the United States federal government exists today in name only. Therefore, the federal government has no authority to grant nor confer citizenship. Let it be known that I am not a corporate U.S. citizen. I am a Haitian national, more anciently referred to as a Moor or Moorish American. Under the United States Republic's constitutional system of government, and upon the individuality and intelligence of the citizen, the state does not claim to control one's conduct towards others, leaving one the sole judge as to all that affects oneself. Mogul versus Kansas, so he can't be held with disorderly conduct because you can't tell me how to conduct myself.
Right.
Number 4, assault of police officers and other officials, minor injuries. Again, the alleged officers must prove the constitutionality of their office. Also, it has been made known to all members of the domestic police forces, U.S. Marshal Service, the Provost Marshal, members of the American Bar Association, and the American Armed Services that all individuals engaged in employment as federal, state, and municipal employees and elected officials are given notice that they are employees of a private for-profit corporations that are merely under contract to provide stipulated public services, having no special status, having no immunity, and having no authority as sovereign nations or states. Any actions that they take infringing on the rights and prerogatives of American state citizens are criminal acts without exception and are to be treated as criminal acts. These individuals have exactly the same standing as employees of any other private commercial company, and the rules, regulations, codes, and other statutes they enforce are obligations unique to those organizations only, meaning it's private law. In the aforementioned general civil orders, it was also noted that any state citizen so imposed upon by those in his or her employment or hired by those in his or her employment in any capacity whatsoever, including elected officials, will be entitled to full reparations in the amount of 5 billion USD, or the equivalent at the time of the damage incurred for every death, 2.5 billion USD, or equivalent at the time of the damage for every permanent disability. They shall also be owed full reparations for all property damage occurred and up to 80 times compensatory damages at the discretion of a jury of their peers. Their peers. Meaning, we will be in the room at his defense. So this is us showing them, every time you hit one of us, the consequence is 5 billion USD. I bet you these police will stop. Because they know black people march and pray. This is how we need to hit them. According to the Supreme Court case, Kohler versus Lawson, in which the United States Supreme Court ruled that a police officer cannot arrest a citizen merely for refusing to present identification, Patrolman Fidel and Patrolman Voyer had no probable cause nor warrant to arrest me nor remove me from the private automobile, as there is no such thing as failure to identify. I, S.I. Tuza Bay, have the right to not have to answer to any colorable officers. Federal law and Supreme Court cases apply to the state courts. Howlett versus Rose. The police then admit that the plates were in fact registered and not stolen. Therefore, they had no jurisdiction nor probable cause, as I, S.I. Tuza Bay, was merely exercising my Fourth Amendment right, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue upon probable cause but upon probable cause, supported by an oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and persons or things to be seized. So they had no probable cause.
Zero.
The police had no reason to search the automobile. Their basis of training and experience as it relates to seeing plates in the back of an automobile is merely conjecture, as any competent criminal would hide their stolen goods, or if needed, the plates would have been used if stolen, not in the back of an automobile. So why would you steal some plates and then not use them? Right? Furthermore, I'm refuting the fact that it is listed as black for my race on the aforementioned report summary. It is a known fact that there is one race as it pertains to humans, and it is human. To be listed as a black man is an international law violation, as it has already been declared in the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of a Child, on the Declaration on Human Rights, and Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, that the people have a right to a nationality, as it is a human's nationality that determines their political status. i.e. their rights to property and their capacity or incapacity to be protected by national and international constitutions, laws, and treaties, etc. The brand of black is to signify that I am a colored person. It is also a known fact that the word color in law means fake. Thus, if I were a black man or colored person, I would have no standing at law, i.e. civiliter mortuus. Let it be known that I am not dead in the eyes of the law, and I retain all natural human and divine rights, i.e. I am in full life. Whereby, in accordance with Rhode Island State Republic's Constitution, Article 1, Section 5, and Section 6, which states, every person within the state ought to find a certain remedy by having recourse to the law for all injuries or wrongdoings which may be received in one's person's property or character. Every person ought to obtain right and justice freely and without purchase, completely and without denial, promptly and without delay, conformably to the law. Section 6. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, papers, and possessions against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but a complaint in writing. These police didn't have no complaint in writing. Upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation in describing as nearly as may be the place to be searched and the papers or things to be seized. And the common law right that all administrative remedies must be exhausted before appeals to federal court. It is my divine right to remedy of at least 5 billion USD in lieu of lawful money as a result of the tort and the genocidal acts of terrorism, engaged in by Patrolman Fidel and Patrolman Voyer for the severe trauma, mental anguish, and beating that took place on the day of the incident, initiated by the aforementioned patrolman unlawfully and without warrant, to which I am bringing charges of genocide and terrorism against these two individuals. U.S. Attorney's Resources, U.S. Attorney Manual, Criminal Resource Manual, CRM 1 TAC 499, CRM 1 TAC 99, Genocide, Title 18 United States Code 1091. Section 1091 of Title 18 United States Code prohibits genocide, whether committed in a time of peace or a time of war. Genocide is defined in subsection 1091 and includes violent attacks with a specific intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. There is federal jurisdiction if the offense is committed within the United States. There is also federal extraterritorial jurisdiction when the offender is a national of the United States. And then Title 18, U.S. Code, Genocide. Basic offense. Whoever, whether in time of peace or in time of war, and with a specific intent to destroy in whole or in substantial part a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, as such, A, or 1, kills member of the group, causes serious bodily injury to members of that group, causes the permanent impairment of mental faculties of members of the group through drugs, torture, or similar techniques. Now, what we were talking about Europeans putting drugs in our communities? Genocide. Subjects the group to conditions of life that are intended to cause the physical destruction of the group, or in whole or in part, forces us into projects in the ghettos, take our cars away from us so we can't work, imposes measures intended to prevent births within the group, birth control, all these shots they're giving our people, transfers by force, children of one group to another, shall be punished as provided in subsection B. Punishment for basic offenses. The punishment for an offense under subsection A is 1. In the case of an offense under subsection A1, where death results by death or imprisonment for life and a fine of not more than 1 billion or both. So in addition to that 5 billion, you get another billion. A fine of not more than 1 billion or imprisonment for not more than 20 years or both. And then you can get, in this sense, we're talking about, that was a good president, right? That was a good president that we gave him. They were laughing, all that kind of stuff. Incitement. Whoever directly or publicly incites another to violate subsection A shall be fined not more than 500,000 or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. Attempt and conspiracy. Any person who attempts or conspires to commit an offense under this section shall be punished in the same manner as a person who completes the offense. Jurisdiction. There is jurisdiction over the offenses described in subsections A, C, and D if the offense is committed in whole or in part within the United States. Considering the offense was initiated by 2 policemen who work for the Providence Police Department, which is a subsidiary of the state of Rhode Island, to be a subdivision of the United States, the offense has been committed within the United States. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And in details of exactly what he said happened.
Thank God I typed that out before we even linked up in the library. I already had that typed the day after.
Yep, and then this goes into everything that he just said, that you know, when they beat him, they maced him, all that kind of stuff.
I can't work right now either because of that.
Yep. And
My job had to verify me.
so this is his statement of what happened. Yep. And so everything he said earlier, that's what this is saying. Then, you know, it talks about when he went to the doctors, all that kind of stuff. Right? I'm hereby calling into force the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the Moroccan Empire and the United States, also known as the Treaty of Amity and Commerce. The treaty granted no personam jurisdiction, subject matter jurisdiction, nor territorial jurisdiction to the United States over any more Mauritius state except those which pertain to Article 21, which applies the criminal act of killing or wounding a citizen of the respective nations, to which the proper venue is council courts. Right? I'm also calling to force the common law. If there's a criminal matter, there must exist an injured party. So they're trying to hold him accountable for something when he's the one who got beat up. Right? Whereas Europeans have been granted permission to conduct business on my ancestral estate by the Sultan of Moroccan Empire, Mohammed ibn Abdullah, and were given the Constitution for the United States of America as a strict guideline on how to conduct themselves on our/my ancestral estate. Me being an Aboriginal and Indigenous Moorish American national in controversy between Moors and Christian Union citizens, this matter must be seen in a lawfully prescribed venue, council court, supported by Article 3, Section 1 and Section 2 of the Constitution for the United States of America, and its Republican form of government, supported by Article 4, Section 4, Article 20, 21, and 25 of the Treaty of Peace and Friendship between the Moroccan Empire and the United States, 1786-1787, and Article 11 of the Treaty of Tripoli, 1796. If this court is not consular or constitutional with treaties, it has no jurisdiction. Any attempt to adjudicate on the part of anyone being a judge, prosecutor, or officer of the court in such controversies is operating on color of law and color of authority, and thus fraudulent, being subject to the United States Code of Law, Title 18, Chapter 13, Sections 241 and 242. The enforcement of treaties is not only enforced by the federal Constitution, but also the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. States cannot make treaties and therefore have no jurisdiction. Being of a treaty nature, the jurisdiction is federal. Any jurisdiction claimed without mutual agreement within the prescribed proper form is void of law. Federal and state officials must set up council courts to have lawful jurisdiction in Moorish affairs. And then American jurisprudence 2D, state and federal conflicts of law, constitutional law, subsection 1 to 359, subsection 75, supremacy of treaties, generally. Treaty is law of the land. As acts of Congress is whenever its provisions prescribe rule by which rights of private citizens or subjects may be determined. State statutory provisions must yield to any applicable provisions of any treaty of the United States with a foreign country, constituting a part of the supreme law of the land. Treaty law entered into stands on the same footing of supremacy as do constitutions and laws of the United States. And it was typed like this, so I typed it word for word, just like this. And it is generally self-operating in that it requires no legislation by either Congress or the state. Treaty must be regarded as part of the law of state as much as state's own statutes, and it may override power of the state, even in respect of great body of private relations. Courts cannot go behind treaty for purposes of annulling its effect and operations. If provisions are not made to address foreign relations and intercourse in a council court as prescribed by law, then no jurisdiction exists. A court of general sessions, congressionally sanctioned in accord with national constitutions and treaties, with counselors and officials representing both nations/nationals present and in propria persona, is a proper jurisdiction. I am not, nor ever have been, a 14th Amendment citizen of the United States Corporation Company, nor a U.S. citizen, federal citizen, or U.S. citizen. See Title 28, Chapter 6, Subchapter 176, Subsection 3002 of the United States Code, which states the United States is a federal corporation, not a country, not a landmass, right? Moors are not citizens of the Union State Society. See the original 13th Amendment in its 20 sections, Section 12. But are the people of the organic continental United States, being part and parcel of the government to which the Union of States are obligated to. That's when George Washington said in his letter, "We respect our attachment to you, Imperial Majesty." Under the nature of discovery supported by the 6th Amendment of the Bill of Rights, I am rightfully demanded to be informed of the nature and causes of the accusations made against me, as well as a sworn affidavit signed by alleged corpus delicti, because they're saying some officer was violated or whatever, so present that for the record, right? Yeah. In all documents pertaining to these alleged accusations, let it be known that my divine rights and constitutionally secured rights will not be violated and or infringed upon without consequence. Let it be known that I will not appear to any colorable courts or tribunals and the like. Any appearance will be a special appearance and under threat, duress, and coercion where jurisdiction will be challenged. Personal jurisdiction, territorial jurisdiction, and subject matter jurisdiction. This affidavit serves as a special appearance, and I preserve my right to not enter into any unlawful and illegal courts or tribunals. It is my constitutionally secured right to not have to answer to any criminal prosecutions or otherwise infamous crimes, unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury supported by the Fifth Amendment, and I have not been indicted by a grand jury. According to the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, I am entitled to all rights and freedoms set at Article 1 and 2 et alia, meaning amongst other things, pertaining to the Human Rights Articles. Article 1. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and right. They have endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in spirit of brotherhood. Article 2. Everyone is entitled to all rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non-self-governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty. Failure to respond places all persons of/in public trust /official office in government in breach of Article 6 of the Constitution for the United States of America and their respective states' Constitution, oath of ethics, good conduct, full faith and credit, etc. Notice to the agent, notice the principal. One who does not repel an injury when he can induces it. He who cannot forbid a thing, if he does not forbid it, directs it. Failure to respond and come to defense of the beneficiaries to the public trust, the people, stands as prima facie evidence to the complete disregard to law and ethics, which is contrary to the Republican form of government. As long as one natural person's constitutionally secured birthrights are being violated and no remedy or recourse is warranted from those who hold the official seats of government, it stands as prima facie evidence that those elected officials are in breach of their fiduciary duties and not adhering to the highest ethical standards to which mankind should expect of persons holding those honorable positions. Ecclesiastical maxims. This is from the Circle 7. No man lives unto himself, for every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing. This is how it relates to the common law. When a citizen is attempting to enforce the Constitution, as herein shown, he is doing so not for himself alone, but also for others, as a private attorney general, vindicating a policy that the constitutional right is considered the highest priority. I'm hereby challenging all recipients of this letter to send copies to and ensure the notice of this letter and all its content and attachments to be listed to the listed persons under the section courtesy copies sent to of this lawful affidavit. Notice the agent, notice the principal, affidavit, I, S.I. Tusa Bay, standing squarely affirmed upon my oath to the 5 points of light, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, being competent in my own proper person to attest to this affidavit, upon which I place my signature, whereas I state, proclaim, and declare the following to be true, correct, not misleading, and not intended to be presented for any misrepresented, colored, or improper use or purpose, and to be submitted on the public record as Exhibit A, whereas he's going to sign, and then I'm going to sign as a witness, and whoever else wants to sign as a witness.
I'll sign.
That's fine.
Thank you guys.
And
we're gonna
I
send
can't even go to the date of the court.
That's fine.
Can you email me this updated version?
Yeah. And we're going to send a certified copy to the Gina Raimondo, the Rhode Island Attorney General, the UN High Commissioner on Human Rights, the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, the U.S. Attorney General, and the Supreme Court Judge, and others. It's just I wasn't sure how many people wanted to be the witness, so I didn't print out. You know what I mean? This yet. And we also have to sign the document.
They should put that
when
whole
you
story.
Yeah. So the reason why I wanted it on camera so we can send this out and put other people on notice, so we can have them wherever they are sign petitions, like in relation to this case number, because the case number's on record.
Yeah.
I stand in support of him.
Right.
To flood their system. That's the only way we're going to get out of this, to make it so public that they can't hide it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why we need to stay together.
Yeah.
Situation like this.
So we can print this later today.
Yeah.
And then whoever wants to sign it, we can sign
I'll let you get your license.
I was just getting
Oh,
They're
okay,
gonna be
that's
mind
gotta be-
blown.
You can print it here, nah?
Yeah, well, yeah, I can print it right now.
They have
The same day?
like-
The same day.
Yeah,
Alright,
So
they-
different
they-
situation.
different
I'll
situation.
do it right now. I'll get my printer.
Let's go with you.
Okay.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah.